I'm your cold boyfriend, and I haven't been able to sleep all night. It's early morning now. I haven't been able to sleep all night because Gossip is one of the most impressive postmodern pop American films that I've ever seen. Coming out in 2000, it's almost like the crown jewel, or at the very least, the cherry on top of a beautiful postmodern movement that seemed to start with Kevin Williamson's Scream. In a very short amount of time, became such a sophisticated and complicated style of art, of pop art, which makes it most interesting, because it was popular, because this is what the public wanted, these kinds of films. Gossip shows how far that postmodern idea can take you. Derek, Jones, and Travis are postmodern visionaries. They get it. Icons without iconography, so they create their own. Gossip is cinema. Cinema is gossip. Cinema is an invention of truth, or it is truth made interesting. Gossip is truth given a narrative. Cinema is truth given purpose, momentum, and danger. Sex. Gossip is the invention of culture. Truths can be inconvenient. Gossip is fun. The truth is not. Cinema is elevated living. Living is boring cinema. Our postmodern visionaries, Derek, Jones, and Travis, spread a rumor. It's an art piece, a project, an experiment, a self-perpetuating critique of culture, or maybe gossip is a celebration of culture. Cinema is the invention of truth, isn't it? It invents its own truths. You don't have to believe them, but it's a lot more interesting if you do. I'm gonna blame the movies. Our lives are cinematic. The truth is only revealed through cinema itself, through the stage and the art. So gossip gives us a world where we interact with not only media, but with the truth through media, through art, specifically through motion picture, through this kind of lyrical interplay with sound and images. We believe that our lives are cinematic because because we invent the truths that make up our lives. We make our lives cinematic because that's how we view our lives. It's a deeply postmodern concept that Kevin Williamson, who had nothing to do with gossip, but this film builds upon the philosophy, the cinematic grammar, the filmic grammar of Kevin Williamson. Kevin Williamson posited in films like Scream 2, in films like Scream, and shows like Dawson's Creek, that we view our lives cinematically, that we don't view them realistically, and that we'd rather not view them realistically. We'd rather see them cinematically. We'd rather imagine the orchestra swelling up. We'd rather imagine us one day walking off into the sunset with our betrothed, with our beloveds. We'd rather not view our lives in a boring, realistic fashion, that we will make our lives cinematic. And the postmodern pop movement would kind of prove that that's the way we'd rather have it. I mean, now we don't care. We don't care if it's truthful. Because truthfulness, like godliness, is dead. It doesn't really compute with postmodernism. It doesn't matter what is truth. Everything is an invention. Everything is constructed socially or otherwise. Everything is a construction, especially truth. We choose our truths. So why not choose to have fun with your truth, or to be dangerous with your truth? It's an interesting art project. Travis is definitely viewing this in a visionary sort of way, but in an artistic way, as that visual means, with Kate Hudson's Naomi as his muse. Right, this is Travis's muse, and he certainly becomes obsessed with her, but it's more so in a way of trying to reveal the artistic the artistic power of lies over truth. Jones is viewing this primarily in a sociological context. She seems to be interested in the experiment itself, in seeing how truths get formed or how powerful lies are, and to see the evolution of a rumor and see it build into something larger. And she's also the one with the, with at least the most visible moral framework here. She's the one who almost immediately, once things start to get a bit complicated with the rumor that they spread, she's the one who wants to come clean and drop the experiment. Now, Derek is a fascinating character. I hesitate to call him a villain, but he most certainly is. You could say that he's interested in this project because of he's definitely he's the philosopher of the group. He is the primary thinker here, but it's not that. He's interested in fun first and revenge second. And the two definitely don't have to be mutually exclusive. Fun and revenge, sex and violence, truth and lies. These are things that Derek's character, he does not separate these things. Derek represents postmodernism without any new sincerity. Derek is the true visionary here, and Derek is quite possibly evil. I mean, it is revealed that Derek has a hyperfixation on Naomi, and he seems dedicated to tormenting her. He's raped her several times, twice. And that's the truth that is revealed in this film. But so interestingly, and in such a postmodern fashion, the truth is only revealed in the most contrived way possible. The truth is revealed with Jones and Travis and Naomi herself playing roles, doing a bit of theater, maybe even creating a new art form. That could be what gossip is ultimately about, creating a new art form to reach a new sincerity. But that new sincerity, it's not comforting. And for Derek, it's hellish. And he deserves it, every moment of that. But it's just so fascinating that even to get to a truth, the lie brings you to that truth. In fact, the most impressive and orchestrated lie gets us Derek screaming a confession at Travis. A lie brought him there. A cinematic lie brought him there. Cinema is truth. Truth is cinema. And yet, the film does posit there is an absolute truth, or that there is a moral goodness, and there is a moral wrong. But the film has such an interesting attitude, doesn't it? I mean, doesn't it? Because it's not as if, and James Marsden is incredible in this film as Derek. Incredible. He's an often thankless actor. I've said this in the disturbing behavior videos I've done. He's great in disturbing behavior, but he's normally next to much more interesting people. If it's not Nick Stahl and Katie Holmes in disturbing behavior, then it's like any other character in the X-Men or on Westworld or an animated hedgehog from a video game. He is always next to far more interesting people. But in Gossip, he's not only the star, but he is by far the most gravitational part of the film. And he's also the most interesting, mysterious, dangerous, and sexy. Because the film paints him as cinema cool. And in cinema, cool is truth. Cool is rebellion. Cool is to be trusted against our better nature. And so we do. Does the film agree with Derek? No, the film doesn't agree with Derek, but the film does possess a certain attitude where the truth doesn't matter and lies don't matter, and justice doesn't matter either because there isn't a clear form of justice here. Derek is revealed as a rapist, as a fraud, as a liar, as a very weak, pathetic, one-time visionary, as a has-been, as a nothing, as an artist without an art now. That's what happens to Derek. His art is removed from him. So you have to think, what is gossip truly positing here? Because there is a problematic spike of gossip, and I'm not really going to bite too hard on that. If anything, if it comes to rape in college campuses, it could definitely be commenting on how quickly trauma could be sensationalized, and dare I say even commodified, trivialized for sure. And also how quick people are to believe the most violent thing that they hear, the most exceptional or sensational or sexy, wild thing that they hear. People are more apt to believe that, or at least more apt to share that information. And I think there's a dark and morbid part of culture that wants to believe these dark and morbid things over some sort of mundane reality. But of course, gossip also, while the actual rumor that is spread by Derek, Jones, and Travis is untrue, there is a greater truth attached to that untruth. So maybe through cinema we can get to the actual truth, or through art we can get to the truth. It's through lies that we get to the truth. But Derek is the visionary here. So kill our visionaries. Reveal them for who they truly are. Possibly. Lena Headey. Lena is incredible as Jones. Lena is fascinating. Incredibly cute, incredibly engaging. And I do like that this film does have some sort of moral anchor, because it could have been an extremely nihilistic film. Thank God we're not just stuck with Derek and Travis. Travis is also completely bonkers. Thank God we have a Jones, someone to really try to help us, because a lot of postmodern films can feel extremely nihilistic. And it's good to have a character with a moral center, and one that we can truly understand. Not only a moral center, but a palpable, visceral attraction to Marsden, because, as I said, he's framed as cinema cool for the first hour of the film. You not only want to be Derek, you probably want to sleep with Derek. And Jones is no different. Norman Reedus as Travis. I like these pre-Boondock Saints roles that Norman Reedus would get, like the more weaselly, nearly impish, secondary characters that Norman Reedus would get. It didn't really focus on his masculinity, but actually focused on his awkward presentation of masculinity. I think he's wonderful as Travis, as this really fucking weird art kid. I think he's awesome. I think he's fascinating, and he's the wild card of the group, because you should have seen me watching this film. They would show him in a dark corner, and I would go like, oh, what the fuck is he doing now? What the fuck is he doing? What are you doing, Travis? He's just so untrustworthy. He looks like he's about to explode all the time. And he also comes off as extremely intelligent in this film, which is fun. Kate Hudson is actually remarkable in her scenes. Kate Hudson is a remarkable actor. And Kate Hudson is lovely here. The scene that she actually shares with James Marsden, there's so much energy, and it's such a disturbing scene. A truly disturbing scene. Reminds me of lyrics to one of my favorite songs. Sometimes actresses get slapped. Sometimes fake fights turn out bad. Sometimes actresses get slapped. You don't know what's true and what's untrue, but you know that everyone is a player. Forced or not, our lives are cinematic thanks to cinema being such a large part of our lives. So we view things cinematically. Gossip is truth now, thanks to gossip being how the transference of culture. Gossip is how we share our culture. We don't share it through some sort of boring recollection of details and facts. Gossip is the narrative of culture, and we're all playing a part in it. And in gossip, you really don't know who to trust, and then you don't know who to trust on what truth. Joshua Jackson is also in this film. He plays Bo, the person who was almost framed by Derek to have raped Kate Hudson when Derek actually did it. Joshua Jackson, you know, if you watch this channel, that I adore Joshua Jackson. He's our Dawson's Creek connection. Of course, he plays Pacey Witter on all 6 seasons of Dawson's Creek, and he plays him wonderfully. Joshua Jackson is a wonderful actor. I love him to death. And he's fun in these kinds of roles as well, because he's secondary. He's nearly an afterthought in the film, but Joshua Jackson has so much presence, at least from my point of view, that he makes his brief appearances here have so much weight, to be so impactful. And Joshua does such a good job. Bo does not feel like Pacey, and it doesn't feel like Damien from Urban Legend. Bo feels like a very unique character, and Joshua Jackson did incredibly. It was great seeing a theater veteran like Eric Bogosian, an avant-garde theater veteran. I always loved his Suburbia play a lot. And Edward James Olmos. I always love seeing Edward James Olmos. And Marissa Coughlin's actually in this movie too. She plays Sheila, and she was great in Teaching Mrs. Tingle, another Williamson project. He actually directed and wrote Teaching Mrs. Tingle, and she was incredible in that film, and I'm so happy to get to talk about her one more time. Marissa Coughlin in Gossip is invaluable to the film, really. She is this unseen texture, this glue that holds it all together. Marissa Coughlin was incredible, but nothing can truly compare to the talent and the chemistry between James Marsden, Lena Headey, and Norman Reedus, between Derek, Jones, and Travis. This is quite a trio. It's quite a gravitational trio. I actually love each one in their own way. Derek is dangerous, obviously. Jones is well-intentioned, but it could be extremely lethal. And Travis is frustratingly impossible to read. He's either extremely violent or he's some sort of monk. I can't exactly tell. But that problematic spike of gossip, it definitely speaks to the sensationalistic, the sensational way that we digest the trauma of others. And gossip is how we spread it around. Gossip is how an event gets a narrative. But I'm not really into that problematic spike too much. I mean, that's as much as I'm going to entertain the problematic parts of gossip, because I don't really think that's exactly what the film is about. I think this film has a lot to say about the importance of American postmodern pop, or at least I have a lot to say about the importance of postmodern pop with gossip as my focal point. Films like Gossip are so incredibly important because films like Gossip tell us how we not only interact with media, but how we interact with truths and with lies, and how that interaction is becoming so sophisticated, so complicated, to the point where it's devious. Right, that postmodern age, the late 90s and early 2000s, that truly pop postmodern age, was a truly violent time. It was a spectacle of violence, of media-obsessed violence. Should it say something about how we interact with media? Yes, of course. We start viewing our lives as if they're art projects. We start viewing our romances as if we're on soap operas. And why not? Why not? If there's a postmodern freedom, why not be as cynical, as nihilistic as Derek? If that's a postmodern freedom, then create your own truth. Invent your own truth. In fact, invent so many truths that you forget what the actual truth was, and at the end of the day, the actual truth might not mean anything if someone can lie better than you can tell the truth. But gossip is so fascinating because it ends with a truth actually being revealed on a stage of lies, in the theater of the untruths. So what is it trying to tell us? Clearly, that truth still has a value. That truth still means something. and that you don't invent the truth invents you. What are they going to say about me? Don't worry about that. It's only words, right, Derek? It's only a movie. It's only a song. It's only a painting. It's only a rumor. It's only the truth. And I also have to thank my viewers for me watching this movie. This one, just like how you recommended that I watch Disturbing Behavior, and I watched it and fell in love with it. I actually hadn't seen Disturbing Behavior, so thank you for that. But Gossip I did watch, but I watched it when I was 11 or 12 years old, far too young to watch it, and definitely too young to even engage with it on any sort of level. Outside of, I remembered this trio. Derek, Jones, and Travis, they are, to me, like burned into my mind cinematically. But watching it right now, like I said, it's early morning. I'm not sleeping tonight because I'm stuck thinking about Gossip. Is Derek's thesis wrong? Gossip is fun. That was his thesis. Is he wrong? I would say that the movie obviously believes that he's wrong. But does culture agree? I think if time has taught us anything, no. We've become increasingly cinematic and increasingly duplicitous. We lie more. And the truth actually means less, has less social and moral value than it ever has before. And that people like Derek go unpunished. But then again, postmodernism can get to a place where it's so nihilistic that why would you ever punish someone for an untruth? Punishing someone for a rape is quite different, but this film doesn't end with Derek in shackles. The film doesn't end with Derek in handcuffs. The film ends with Derek exposed. Decidedly so. The film could have easily ended with him in a cop car, in the back of one, being driven to prison for the rest of his stupid life. But it didn't. It ended with him in the loft, surrounded by these unfinished art projects, with these shrines to Kate Hudson, this poor woman he's been hyper-obsessed with since high school, and has tortured her and ruined her life and raped her. It ends like that, with him being exposed and alone and mortified. That's how it ends. So it's not telling us about justice, at least not in some sort of structuralist or formal way. It's telling us something a lot more. Something a lot more complicated than that. And it's one of the most haunting scenes. It's up there with, like, Gene Hackman at the end of the conversation. It's one of the best movie endings I've ever seen, not only because I honestly didn't see the twists coming, which was 25 a fucking second by the end of the movie. It's just framed so perfectly. After every twist is revealed, and Derek, our villain, is exposed to be a cowardly little monster. It's not handcuffs that await him. It's the cut to black and end credits. It's being the subject of a postmodern art project that proves that the truth has value, actually. That the truth is valuable. That if we all had this kind of existentialist ability to create our own truth, everybody has that equal power. Because my thesis for Gossip that ultimately you don't invent the truth invents you. And that's the most difficult thing for postmodernism to accept. Postmodern art, postmodern philosophy, postmodern politics, that's the most difficult thing to accept. That no matter how socially constructed you feel this universe is, you don't invent the truth invents you. Derek can fashion himself as cinema cool, as suave and sexy and irresistible and smart all he wants. But the truth of Derek, which invented him, he's a rapist, he's a misogynist, and he's a dirtbag. That's the truth of Derek. I think it's a tragedy for the ultimate postmodernist, maybe. Derek couldn't escape his truth. Derek couldn't exactly create his own new truth. He was pretty good at it, but he couldn't do it all in the end. At least not perfectly. Derek failed. Derek is now in this perpetually cinematic prison of his truth, because that's where it ends. That's where the film ends, and in an extremely postmodern way. It's the last time we see Derek, so of course that's where Derek is for every viewer that watches the film, for every audience member. Derek is always still right there, being found out. That's where he remains in perpetuity, forever. The naked, scared postmodernist, alone, an icon without iconography. Gossip is cinema, cinema is gossip, cinema is an invention of truth, or it is truth made interesting. The importance of postmodern American pop can't be overstated. Not when you get topics like these in a film of this variety. Like it's a very accessible film, but it has so much to say about culture, and even more to say about art and the way that we consume it, and then perpetuate or act out what we've learned, express what we've learned. Or it's about these postmodern brats. Like, I'm a postmodern brat. Derek Jones and Travis were postmodern brats. Postmodern brats were raised in a universe where truth is increasingly less valuable, less important. Not that lies are more important or more valuable. That's not the way it works. Just that it doesn't matter if something is truthful or a lie. It's not like one decreases in value while the other increases. It doesn't work like that. Concepts like truthfulness mean less. These kids are growing up in that kind of moral nihilism. It's hard to even blame them. You can blame the movies, though. You can blame culture for sure. Culture doesn't invent truth. Truth invents culture in the end. Because gossip is positing some rather fascinating things that fly in the face of a lot of well-established quote-unquote truths of philosophy. I'm shocked by how potent and sharp it is. How deep gossip stagger can penetrate. I feel gutted by this film. I haven't slept. I probably won't. Gossip's a masterpiece. Gossip. Yeah. Gossip is one of the best films ever made. Thanks for watching. I'm your cult boyfriend. Some people are dying to hear it.